Here we're going to show you how to make a T Dollie, because you never know when you need a cheap tool. So stay tuned and we'll show you how to make this. We're going to make this using some bolts from the hardware store and some scrap plate. You can buy this flat bar probably at Atwood's, Tractor Supply, your local metal supply, anything like that. But we're going to make this simple tool using simple supplies, so hopefully it'll help you on your projects. Okay, for our T Dollie, I'm fixing to cut these threads off and the head off this bolt. These are all my other size bolts that I'm going to use here to make my other T Dollies. I just bought these at the hardware store. They're just hardware store grade bolts. I didn't want anything super hard because I needed to be able to modify this and weld to it and everything like that. So we're gonna start on this set here and see if we can make our T Dollies using these bolts. So alright, we've cut the thread and the head off of the bolt, as you can see right here. So you cut those off, and now you just have a piece of round bar, which is what we want. This is a easier way to get some small pieces of round bar. This way you don't have to buy like a big long stick from the steel yard. You can just buy some long bolts and do this. Now you need to round these edges off. One way I've found that works, if you have a drill big enough, that is you can chuck some of the bolts, not these bigger ones, but you can chuck these into a drill and then turn the drill on and use a grinder with a flap wheel to do this. How I'm going to do it, you do this as your own caution, because you can get hurt doing this kind of stuff. But I need this tool to do some sheet metal work, and so this is what I've got. I don't have access to a lathe or anything to round these edges off, so these ones here I'm just gonna have to do by hand with the grinder and round those edges off. So alright, we've got our bolt shaft here. It's chucked up into my drill here. We'll spin, and we're going to spin it and grind on this. I do not recommend doing this, but it's the only way I've got to do it right now, so it works. You look there, if you look at the end of this, it's got pretty round. It's got a little spot right there, but it's rounding it off pretty fast. So, and you want both ends like that. See right there, got it kind of rounded off. Let's see, let's chuck it the other way. You can see that one's kind of cut off flat. We're going to grind this one now. Alright, now we've got both of them ground down. Alright, you can see both ends here rounded off nicely. And then what you'll need to do is, this has a coating on it, and you need to sand the coating off before you weld it, because this stuff, and you definitely don't want to breathe it while welding it, that's for certain. But this is going to be the top of our T Dollie. I'm going to weld a piece of steel to the back side of it to hold it. We're going to get that now. Okay, we've got our first one made here with the ends cleaned up. I'm going to use my air grinder here to clean off this zinc coating so we can weld it. Alright, these are they're 1/4 inch by 2 inch flat bar, cut down to about 4 inches. This is what I'm using for the post part of this T Dollie. It'll weld on right here. You weld it across there. I'm going to clean this up and clean this up so we can get it welded, and we'll have our first low buck T Dollie made. So, get my safety glasses. Alright, we got that ground pretty good right there. Then we can put it together, see if I can find the center, mark it. Alright, measure that. Yeah, it's 2 inches. So, need to mark this. Alright, there we go. We've got them. Got the centers marked. Got that. And I'm going to grind this down some. That way we get good penetration on this and weld it so it stays pretty solid, because we're going to be beating on this surface here with our body hammers when we're bending the sheet metal over. So you want to make sure you get a good weld there. So. Alright, got it ground, got the edges ground down. I should probably ground it down a little bit more, but I think it'll be alright. I don't really use anything over 18 gauge on something like this anyway, so you want to make sure there's a good groove there right here so you can get the weld in there where it needs to be. So we're going to see if we can get this one welded up, and then alright, I'm just going to tack this on here. We're going to line it up. I'm going to tack the corners here. That way then we can weld it all the way across. So. Alright, you can see how the T Dollie looks. It's pretty close to center. I may have got it off a little bit, but I'm not that worried about it. And then we're going to weld this here, weld it across there, and then we'll have one of them made. You can also drill holes in these, like to mount these in fixtures. I'm just going to have mine where it clamps in a vise, so that way I can bend the sheet metal over the top of it. These are just some cheap ones. If I tear them up, then I can make some new ones. It's no big deal. Alright, there we go. I'm not the greatest welder, but these should work for what I'm trying to do. So, it's just some cheap tools. Now we just got these others to do, and we'll be ready to go. Alright, here's my T Dollie. Normally I'd put it in a vise, but I've actually got my vise being used for something else right now, so I made this fixture to hold it with a piece of angle iron and a couple of clamps, but whatever you can clamp it in will work, and I'll show you what we're going to use this tool for. You take a piece of sheet metal, this is just a scrap piece that I've got, and let's say you need a curve for maybe making a patch panel for like a bead or something like that in an old car or something. So you can take and put it over the top of it, and then use your body hammers to tap it over it. And then you get a nice curve like that. So works good for that, or you can use these to back up like behind a panel, like a wheel lip or something that's gotten damaged. You can, if the wheel lip's kind of messed up and you're trying to hammer it out and it's got like a curve like this or radius, you can put it behind it, and then you can use like a slapper like this or a body hammer like this to knock the dent out. So these things come in pretty handy for multiple things. So I needed a set for project I've got going on. Well, it's actually a project for this 37, and some other stuff. And when you get done welding it, you'll want to try and polish this up a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, but some sandpaper or Scotch-Brite, sand it up and try to get any kind of marks or any deep scratches out of it. That way it's got a smooth surface whenever you get ready to use it, because if you've got a bunch of gouges or anything like that in it, it'll show up in your sheet metal whenever you go to hammer form over the top of it. So, well, that's the end of this video. Check out my other videos, check out the build on this 37, and stay tuned until the next one.